It's the second week of the full MCO here in Malaysia, and there's not a lot of things to do when you're stuck at home. If you're anything like me, you would go online and look at all the latest bikes and cars that you can buy with or without the money that you have. For today, we are going to focus on the most powerful production bikes that you can get right here in Malaysia, and this list is in no particular order. Now, the first bike that I would like to add to this list is the 2021 BMW S1000RR. So this bike was launched by BMW Motorrad Malaysia back in February 2021. So basically it's the same bike that they launched last year, but this year they want to increase the overall ownership experience, meaning that the used to be optional M performance package is now included as standard for the BMW S1000RR. So that means if you buy the S1000RR right now, you will get the M carbon wheels, you get the M sport seat, and the lightweight battery. So for about 121,000 ringgit, you will get a very smart German superbike that produces about 207 horsepower and about 130 Newton meters of torque. So in terms of the superbike world or superbike offerings that you can get, the S1000RR is not the most powerful, but you can easily exceed 300 kilometers an hour if you're brave enough to push it all the way there. The next bike that is on the list is of course the 2020 Ducati Panigale V8, aka the world's most popular superbike. Now, there are many Panigale versions that you can find. Even here in Malaysia, you have the Panigale V2 and of course the very popular Panigale V4. So when it was introduced back in 2020, the price range is between 132,000 to 172,000. So you have the standard V4 and then of course you have the V4S. Now, the Panigale V4 comes with a 1103cc V4 engine, which produces about 214 horsepower and 120 Newton meters of torque. So this is clearly a very powerful and very sexy superbike. And if you feel that 214 horsepower is not enough, well, Ducati Malaysia has a very special Aprillia exhaust system just for the Panigale V4. So if you buy that together with the race ECU, you can easily bump it up to around 226 horsepower. So when you calculate its weight and power, so you get the power to weight ratio, you will understand just how powerful the Panigale V4 can get. And if you still want something that's very Italian but you're not keen on getting a Ducati, then you can head over to Aprillia and get one of their RSV4 1100 factory. So when it was launched last year, it was priced around 160,000 ringgit. So what you get is also a very sexy looking superbike. So it comes with the aero fairings that you will find being used in MotoGP or World SBK. So a lot of inspirations in building bike comes from motorsports. So you will get a very powerful engine. It's also 1100cc. It's also a V4 engine, and it produces about 217 horsepower and 122 Newton meters of torque. So a lot of motor medias around the world have compared the Aprillia RSV4 together with the Panigale V4 because these are the two superbikes that you can get in the V4 configuration. So they are both very powerful, they are very Italian, and they are very smart. They've also claimed that the RSV4 is one of the most enjoyable superbikes that you can ride even on a daily basis. The next bike is actually from Bunshu Honda. The bike that we're referring to is the 2020 Honda CBR 1000RR-R Fireblade SP. Right, the name is quite long and the price is actually quite ridiculous in my opinion. It's very close to 199 ringgit for a 1000cc Japanese superbike. Back in when it was launched in January 2020, it was one of the most highly anticipated bikes because Honda has put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of R&D to make sure that this bike is able to compete with the rest of the superbikes in World SBK. Even the engine has been given the overall HRC or Honda Racing Corporation treatment, and what you'll get is a 1000cc inline 4 engine which produces about 215 horsepower and 112 Newton meters of torque. So that is basically the baseline for most superbikes here in Malaysia. The question now is whether you're willing to pay close to 200,000 ringgit for a Japanese superbike. Okay, so let's say you're not into superbikes, you want something that looks a bit more classic but very powerful, then you might want to head over to Triumph Motorcycles. What they have is the 2020 Triumph Rocket 3R. Now for 130,000 ringgit, you will basically get a roadster with the biggest production engine fitted into a motorcycle to date. Basically, the Rocket 3R is fitted with a 2500cc inline 3 engine. That's right, a 2.5 liter inline 3 engine on a motorcycle. So what it produces is 165 horsepower, which is not the most powerful, but the torque produces is massive, 221 Newton meters of torque. So basically this bike can go up against a lot of sports cars or mid-range sports cars here in Malaysia. Now the last bike that I would like to mention for today is the 2019 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10RR. So back in 2019, when Kawasaki Motors Malaysia was still active, they were the first to bring in the ZX-10RR into Malaysia, like one of the first countries outside of Japan to get this bike. So it's also very rare. That I think there are only 500 units available for the global market, and it is actually a very interesting bike because Kawasaki has been very successful in World SBK and other races around the globe. So what they have done there is that they have taken their success, their R&D, and whatever championship titles that they have gotten, and they packaged it into the new ZX-10RR. This is not even the latest Ninja ZX-10. There's new one which is not available just yet, but for this 2019 model, it comes with a 998cc inline 4 engine which produces about 211 horsepower and about 150 Newton meters of torque. So it's also a very powerful superbike. It's actually one of the most complete superbikes that you can get. It's very powerful, it's very nimble, it's very agile, and when you look at their track record, especially with Jonathan Rea winning 5 back-to-back championship titles in World SBK, you would know that the Ninja ZX-10RR is a very special bike. I am not sure whether you can get a new bike here in Malaysia today, but if you scour around, you might be lucky. I hope you're lucky. Yeah, I mean, if you really look into what's available here in Malaysia, you will find a lot more examples from the likes of Suzuki, Yamaha, KTM, and many more. But what you will also find is, older models, slightly older models, beyond or before 2019, or even recon bikes or grey imports. So what we're focusing on today is just the bikes that has been launched from 2019 and beyond. But nevertheless, these are very powerful bikes that you can get right here in Malaysia. So for more details, it's actually on our website www.topgear.com.my. Just head over to our website and I'll see you again soon.